If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This has been another episode sponsored by Online Horse College. If you haven't had a look at the wide variety of equine-specific accredited courses, then go to onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there. Today's guest at Horse Chats is Kaye Hannan. Kaye's at the moment campaigning for the Tokyo Olympics for para-equestrian, so we wish her all the best for that. She is in a para-equestrian grade 4. She's on the high performance national squad. She's ridden on the Australian team in Hong Kong. She's competed in the UK, so we certainly wish her well for the Tokyo Olympics. Now, how are you today, Kaye?
I'm very well, thanks, Glenys.
Great. Very good. Very good. Now, Kaye, we normally start off with a favourite quote, and I know you've got a good one. Can you talk to us about it?
So my favourite quote is actually by Walt Disney, and it's, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them."
Mm-hmm. Yes, because I think the story was him and his brother were mechanics in a garage and they had a little pet mouse called Mickey.
That's right.
Yeah. And, you know, when you think about Disney today and, you know, Disney World, Disneyland, the magic that it gives to millions and millions of people, yes, certainly a lot of people laughed at him when he first started.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it is my faith that I believe that if you dream something and you really want it, fate will deliver.
Yep. Now, just starting off with horses, I want you to talk about the whole, you know, we'll sort of focus this a bit more on the para-equestrian. How did you get involved with para-equestrian?
Okay, now that is a good question because a lot of people will see me on good days and think there's nothing wrong with me.
Sure.
And I guess I need to say to people, with like most of the para-equestrians, some have very mild disabilities right up to really impinging on your life disabilities, and we're all graded at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So the most disabled is grade 1, and then it comes back down to right the way down to grade 5, which may be an ankle or a leg that doesn't work, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yep.
So how I got involved in it was, I've been riding now for, dare I say, 54 years. That sounds like an awful long time. And so in 2009, I was being coached by a gorgeous lady who's local to our little village here at Ebenezer called Pip Tonkin. And most of the people, if they're in this area, know Pip quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 2 major back surgeries. I'd learned how to walk again. I was struggling to perform to my very best in able-bodied, and Pip suggested, very politely I might add, because when you say to someone, would you like to be a para-equestrian, most people think it's paraplegia, and it's actually not. It's parallel dressage, meaning that everybody in that grade is competing on a stable platform. You're all competing with the same sort of impairments that will stop you, competing at able-bodied.
Yep.
Having said that, a lot of us still compete at able-bodied as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's just an interesting background and interesting information for people who may be in a similar situation, you know, that they're feeling like their injuries or their physical difficulties are holding them back within the sport that they love. It's a parallel. So, yeah, I think thanks for that, Kaye. It's very good information because you juggle this with a full-time job. Just tell us a little bit about how you work your full-time job and juggling your riding and doing it all together.
Yes, I think a lot of people think that I probably never sleep, and in some instances it's probably true. I'm very blessed to have a wonderful husband, Bill, who is retired, and I always say that I'm his main project, and I guess he would have to say I am.
Okay.
So working full-time with most of the roles that I have been in, I've been very fortunate to actually work from home,
Yep.
which means that I conduct my own time framing, that side of things. I will be away for, long trips, trade shows, that side of things. And during that time, the boys have a little bit of a rest, the boys being my two fur kids. Bill is wonderful. He helps me in the morning. So I will ride probably 5 times a week. I currently attend Beecroft Physio, who has the most amazing gymnasium that keeps me rocking along, and they can keep an eye on me trying not to break myself by overachieving.
Yep.
So I go to them at least 3 times a week as well. So it's 4 lessons, a couple of rides in Skyville National Park, which we're very lucky to have in this area, on big bushy tracks to just tune their minds away from being in the dressage arena all the time. I might, trot over a couple of little logs and that sort of thing. Anything that is cross-training is really good, because for our brains as well as the horses, they need to have variety.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and the full-time job, that's Saturday, Sunday sometimes. I coach as well. I massage horses. I used to do a full range of herbal products, which I've now not doing, only because the time it's just too much.
Sure. So for someone who's looking, this is sort of going back to the Paralympians, if they've got an injury, if they want to find out a bit more, find out about getting classified, find out about the competitions, where can they go?
Yep. Look, I'm on Facebook. I'm more than happy to help anybody, to be really honest. I often do demonstration rides or get involved in different RDAs around New South Wales and help out.
Yep.
We're constantly scouting for people.
Uh-huh.
And this should really include the racing industry as well. There's a lot of jockeys that have sustained quite significant injuries and mild injuries that are preventing them possibly, continuing training or actually riding at an elite level, but they could possibly join us or come along and at least have a look.
Yep.
And realise that, it's everybody. It's people from walking sticks to mobility scooters to in wheelchairs to people that are walking around and you go, wow, they look fine. I'm not really sure, what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Lots of variety, lots of opportunity. As I said, I'm on Facebook. I'm happy to talk to anyone as well. Mm-hmm. Most of the other para-equestrians are also happy to talk to people and encourage them into our element of the dressage sport.
Okay. Now, if someone's going to get in, and the people then that do go on and represent their country, travel overseas, that are more of the elite of the Paralympians, what sort of core skills and character traits do you think they have? What's different about them that makes it that they work their way to the top rather than someone who doesn't so much?
I think exactly as I said before, they just dream and they have the sheer guts to actually continue. So in a lot of cases, people go, oh, it's raining, I don't really feel like riding, or it's too hot. Mm-hmm. If you talk to an elite rider, they, if they're at an Olympics and it's raining, they wouldn't not ride.
Yes.
If it was really hot and very humid, they'll work around that. So I'm doing humidity training at the moment. I also do a lot with ice collars and ice vests, and a lot on recovery for my horse as well as myself. Mm-hmm. So you can access a lot of material by actually being a team player. I think that is one of the key things. Giving back to the sport and being approachable is really important.
Okay.
I think dressage has that elitist status in a lot of cases that you need, absolutely pots and pots of money. And can I say that's actually not true? Mm-hmm. My first horse I bought for $1,000, and I was lucky enough to compete him internationally here in Australia against the US and Japan and do quite well. So if you really want to do anything, you will find the time, you will find the courage, and you will have the determination to continue.
Yes.
It's that simple.
Okay, good, good. Now, there's someone who's inspired you. Would you like to talk about Marnie here?
Yes, absolutely. I've got a couple of people. I've got a dear friend of mine, Marnie Clapham. She was local to this area. She just moved down to Victoria with her mum, and her mum works in the medical industry as a consultant. Now, Marnie was a young rider, and I think she was around 16 when, unfortunately, she had a massive brain bleed. She is the only living survivor in the world of that level of brain bleed.
Wow.
So it was absolutely catastrophic for the family and catastrophic for everybody that knew her. I saw her after about a year, and she loves horses, loves them beyond belief. And her mum was pushing her around in a wheelchair, and they came along to a competition to look and watch. And she just adored it. You could see it written all over her face. Now, it's taken 4 years or more, but she is now riding again, and she's doing the most amazing, amazing role.
Wow.
She is a grade 1, so she is the most, highest level of disability that you could have to compete. She is as cheeky as all get out, and we love her to death. When she sat on a horse, Donna and I, her mother, Donna and I, just burst into tears because her body and brain remembered her position and how she should sit on that horse. It was absolutely outstanding. She did compete at RDA state championships and was the highest scoring person on that day, and that was her first big competition that she'd done.
Wow.
So she is an inspiration to me. I find the whole family are, because they're very solid, they're a team, they're very down to earth, and they have the determination it takes to continue and be absolutely elite.
I'm just thinking, the pride, the everything that you had in your voice there. And as a competitor, I'm sure you would have had proud moments. But are your proud moments people like this, people that you can assist or support in some way?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I go to RDA. I did quite a bit at Ride RDA, and there were 4 lovely ladies there as well. And we'd go and they enter the video competition. So I'd go along and give them a little coaching lesson beforehand, or we'd do a demonstration ride, and then I'd let them sit on my horse. By then he was so worn out he would just stand there, so that was great. I'm sure they weren't prepared to do any flying changes or anything at that stage, but it's been an honour actually, and it's very humbling to be allowed to be part of that Riding for the Disabled family. So whether it's Nepean, Ride, Richmond with Ian Travers, which is where I started doing some work with Ian and also with Marnie, it really has been wonderful. And that is the soul food that gives you that, God, I'm just in awe of these people. They are just amazing.
If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com.
Thinking about where you are now, and campaigning for the Tokyo Paralympics, and money aside, because that's, that makes the world go round, but what about challenges? What challenges have you had along the way where you might have thought, oh, I just want to give up. I just want to stop this. I don't want to push myself anymore. Or, has there been times like that when you felt like that?
They are few and far between.
Okay.
And I will be very honest, they are few and far between. And I think every athlete, when they have a huge fall, something goes wrong with the horse, and you're just on track, it's a great saying when they go, yep, that's horses, isn't it?
Yep.
But you can feel like you want to just put your kit bag down and not continue. Now, that will last for a little while, and it might be a death in the family that does it. That did that to me last year, unfortunately. I've had a massive accident 5 years ago where I fractured my neck, broke 11 ribs and had a reconstructed shoulder. I'm positive I was on morphine when the surgeon came in and said, have you got any questions? And stupidly I said, yes, when can I get back on my horse? But that proves the sort of dedication that you have. But that was a long, long road to get back onto a horse, just the sheer terrifying feeling that I didn't know what had caused it. I didn't know why the horse had suddenly reacted so badly. They have a massive flight response, obviously. I mean, I just say to people that are older, you know, you really want to take up horse riding? I know it looks like a bit of a fantasy, but they are killers, and that's what we have to think about. And that huge sort of, oh, my God, I was just about to put my other leg over the horse to go for a ride and wake up in hospital because I'm a bit of a control freak, if anybody knows me. I just didn't like the fact I didn't know what had created it. And it did take a good 3 to 6 months. Well, actually, it was 6 months to the day that I put my leg over that horse again. And it took me 3 months to just go and spend time with him and be able to say, it's okay. You know, it was a hell of a fright for him. It was certainly a fright for me. My husband, Bill, he was absolutely paranoid every time I got on the horse. No, I've got to be there, you know, which is wonderful. You know, I mean, he is, I call him my number one fan, and I'm sure he is. But there are times when that kit bag will be put down. There are times when you will be challenged. So the horse gets really sick and you're all on track, and then all of a sudden you have a big setback. But it's that, I don't know, there's something about horse riding that I wasn't from a horsey family, you know. Nobody in my family rode. And I was just this little kid that used to go down and muck out stables in the UK just to be able to smell the horse, pat the horse, and occasionally sit on one. So it's a bit of an addiction.
Okay, now just thinking about, you know, and not thinking about so much the fall and, you know, waking up in hospital, but those moments, you know, between going and having a look at your horse and, you know, riding, and especially those first few rides, what was going through your head at that time? What gave you that extra push that made you say, I'm going to keep going? You know, what was going through your head?
I think my family have always been my immediate, you know, daughters and son-in-laws and things like that. They have always been behind me, and they are extremely proud of their mum and what she's achieved so far. I went to a hypnotherapist to talk to them about control and the rush of anxiety that would come every time I thought, oh, my gosh, I'm going to get back on this horse. Is it going to happen again? And they said, what is it in your horse that if something was going to go wrong, what is the trigger? What makes you trust the horse? And I said, well, it's in his eyes. And they said, there's your answer. Before you get on, look him in the eye, stand on the stairs. I have, you know, big stairs to get on. And if anything doesn't look perfectly right, take him for a walk, come back round and get back on again. And you know what? I still do that. That's 5 years later. I still walk round. Bill will go, have you stretched his front legs? Because it's just this routine every single time, whether I'm riding in the bush, whether I'm just getting on to check a saddle fit, anything. We go for the walk. We line him up. I bend his neck round, pat on the face, look in the eye, and away we go. And he had enough faith in me, so I had to keep going.
I want you to put your coach's cap on and just think in general about if you're going out to teach a group of riders, and they could be at RDA, they could be, you know, just your local pony club or just riders that you haven't seen before and their horses. What's a common fault that you see, and how can that be overcome?
That's an interesting one, and that always depends on the level of the rider. Okay, so that's the first thing we need to discuss with our riders. What is your ambition? You know, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? Where are you at now in your journey? Commonly, I would say people that kick every stride. If a horse can feel a fly land on it, probably doesn't need to be reminded to move its legs. And another one is what I call inside reinitis. And I think if there are any other coaches listening, they'll know what this one is.
Yep.
And it's where the inside hand just is constantly going nag, 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 nag on the horse's mouth. And you think, why are you doing that? Just ask the horse to do something. If they don't understand, they're not going to do it. Yelling at them is not going to, with your hands and your legs, is not going to make it any clearer.
Yep.
How do you break that exercise down so the horse then goes, I've got it?
Okay.
And they're very much like children. Every reward is for anything that is moving in that right direction, and children are the same. Don't tell them off and nag at them and get really, really angry, because half the time it's the rider. 99.9% of issues with horses are created by riders.
Yep.
If you understand that, then you fall in love with the challenge.
Yes.
You know, the horse's brain is so tiny, about the size of a mandarin. And I think when I'm coaching, I often say, my horse I know has a brain the size of a mandarin, and he's nearly 18 hands, and I'm positive some days that mandarin is peeled, and people would just laugh, and I'll go, well, let's be honest. They're 3-year-old children, basically. So they will compartmentalise if things go wrong, but they love to be told they're doing the right thing, same as riders do. Wow, that's really good, Kaye. Or just try this little, humour me, try this is a common thing that I say to people,
Yep. I think there's a lot of empathy there, just coming back there's a lot of empathy with horses, stop nagging them, stop kicking them and think about it from the horse's point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess from coaches, some coaches are, they expect a lot, which is great. And I know my coach expects a huge amount. And I've told her she's too kind. She needs to get stuck into me. I said, you'll know when I look at you and give you the Kaye Hannan stare of death, you'll know you've gone too far.
Yes.
But just keep nagging me. We've got a place to get to, and we need to be doing it. So, yeah, it's a great life.
If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com.
Tell us about your lead up, just going through your preparation. What sort of goals have you set? What things have you set prior to Tokyo? And I know you're campaigning now. I know you're not selected as the person who's going, but say you are, in the next leading up to it, what would you be going through? What goals, what milestones and everything that you'd be going through?
Okay, yeah, look, there are still, and it's the same for all of my colleagues that are campaigning as well. We have a range of selection events, of which we need to go to 4 at least, 2 of which will be in 2020. I'm selecting to go to a few more because I think, our requirements at grade 4 are to score in the 70s, and that can be quite challenging as well. 70 is one of those mythical sort of numbers, and when you first crack it, you feel like, oh my God, I've made it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to keep up and do that each time, and it's one minuscule little error can pull you away from that number. So it's quite a highlight. So I am going to Sydney 3-day event in April, the end of April, to compete there. There's a selection event for para-equestrian at that particular competition at SIAC, which is Sydney International Equestrian Centre there at Horsley Park. Then I'll be going up to Brisbane for the which is in June. Then I think there's about 4 or 5 I've seen. There's a lot in Victoria, which is great. And I have competed at Bonio and places, Werribee and the alike. But if I can get things that are closer to home, obviously cost-wise it's better, because it's somewhere around probably about the $5,000 mark to travel interstate to go to a competition. So it's something that you have to work on, obviously. I'll be working because I know that Japan will be very humid, very hot. So I've already mentioned humidity training. keeping the horses in peak condition, working them up and understanding my own body and the horse's body prior to actually going to a competition. So we'll be working on little elements that have come out of other competitions that weren't as successful as we thought. What went wrong? What did I do? Why did the horse do it that way? And it's always pointed back at the rider, as I said. So it's constantly going through that. It's knowing how many strides have I got when I get on that centre line before I halt.
Mm-hmm.
How many strides if I'm doing a canter 20-metre circle, which was actually asked of me by our high-performance coach, and I didn't know and probably should have done. You have to get to that level of understanding of how your horse is going.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's 18 strides. I went, okay, fantastic. So I know now if my horse is cantering and we're not got enough effort and energy in that, we won't get 18 strides.
Yep.
And, of course, that's broken down into a quarter of a circle. So in the first circle, if you're not over that centre line by the time you're in your brain going 5, you're never going to make it to the other side and round by 18. So every circle, every movement has a beginning, a middle and an end. Every circle has 4 parts to it, all of which should be nice and round with no corners, which is something that is quite testing sometimes.
Yep.
So it's that level of detail. How does the horse look? How does he feel? Is it going to be hot? Do I need to do electrolytes before I campaign him? I take electrolytes before I start to ride. I might use ice collars in the warm-up or an ice vest because I know cooler weather suits me better. It's all those tiny little details. Someone talks to me before I walk in, am I going to forget my test? So I'm a bit like the Ice Maiden, and people probably sort of think, oh, dear, she's a little snotty, you know, and I'm not. I'm just in my zone, totally in my zone, and I'll ride the horse up, do the warm-up, ride up. You've got probably about 10 minutes by this stage between the 2 areas where you warm up and compete. And even Bill, my husband, will just walk away. He knows I'm in the zone, and I'll talk to everybody and have a chat and all that sort of thing afterwards. But it's that level of detail and concentration.
I think, I think all the information you've given us, I think it was very interesting, the information about the Paralympic levels. And I think there's possible options there for our listeners. So I think, Kaye, really good chatting to you today. But before we go, can you summarise your philosophy with horses? I know you've got a lot of empathy there, but just a bit of a lessons, a bit of a takeaway to our listeners before we say goodbye. What can you say?
Enjoy every ride. Absolutely. Every time you see a horse, they are going to give you something, teach you something, or allow you to do something you hadn't thought of yesterday.
Kaye, I know we talked about people contacting you. What's the best way? Your contact details will be on Horse Chats. It'll be horsechats.com/Kaye Hannan. But if they want to contact you direct, what's the best way?
As I said, there's Facebook is probably the easiest, and I think most listeners are probably on that. So it's Kaye space Hannan, Hannan on Facebook, and there's also a Kaye Hannan -para equestrian. Either of those would get me, and I would love to have some communication with people. That would be great.
Perfect. And those details will be on your page as well, horsechats.com/Kaye Hannan.
Yeah, wonderful.
All right, Kaye, thank you for chatting today, and we hope to chat to you sometime soon, and best of luck for Tokyo.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com, and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.